I believe we live in a time that is far surpassed of any time on this planet. I believe we have opportunity to help as much as we can, to enjoy our lives as much as we can, to hug, to give, and to live in the light.
Nobody, not mom or dad or a grandmother or a grandfather or a big sister or big brother or teachers or doctors or soldiers or reverends or athletes or lawyers or TV stars or any people who are working or any people who are playing, not even the president, not even a king or a queen, not even people who love each other know what a single thing is. It is a great and wonderful mystery to all of us that anything is or that we are. And whether somebody says, I don't know how anything came to be, or God made everything, they are simply pointing to the feeling of the mystery of how everything is, but nobody knows what it really is or how it came to be.
Sakaraname, Siri Guru Devaname, Agaraname, Jugakaraname, Sakaraname, Siri Guru Devaname, Agaraname, Jugakaraname, Satkaraname, Siri Guru Devaname. Satnam, everyone, and good morning. It's sunshine in London. It's such a rare day here. I'm loving it so much. We arrived 2 days ago to teach at our teacher's training level 1 at Tri Yoga. And I'm kind of in between jet lag coming back out of it. We came from Taos. I taught in Boulder at Raj. That was amazing. And then flew over here all night long and arrived in London. It's the day after Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day always puts a lot of people through a lot because memory banks just flow on that day. From the first maybe Valentine's Day we can remember. I know for me my first one was when a boy named Larry, I forgot his last name. It was 7th grade. So that was maybe 63 years ago, like that. And he came to bring me a box of chocolates and a card. And I was so scared that my parents would think I had a boyfriend. This was 7th grade. And I was so scared of the boy. I was so scared of every single thing. I went down into the cellar and I hid. And my mother couldn't find me when he came on his bicycle to the door to give me that gift. And she kept calling and calling me, and she looked all over the yard, everywhere in my bedroom. She didn't know where I was. And I'd hidden behind the furnace, I remember, down in the basement. And finally he just left the gift and went. And then eventually I came up. And I told my mama that I didn't want to even talk about it. It was just too scary. It was too much. But I couldn't even say it was too scary. I just said, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. And that happened so many times in my life that I didn't want to talk about it. I was too scared to talk about it. And then I started just recently reading a lot of books. I've always read so much spiritual books, from present to ancient. But lately I've been coming across books that are about the condition of the world at this present moment. I was so taken just recently of Maya Angelou's little thing on Oprah. And how she just says over and over the same message, love is the answer. And then you read the political strife in the United States, and actually in many countries. Has it been going on throughout this world forever? I think so. But do we see it more now than ever because of our media and how fast information can fly? I think so. Where does it all come from? My feeling today is it comes from separation. First, separating from God. When that separation is lost, and I know from my own life, nothing works. Everybody irritates me. I judge all the time. I've got a right and wrong attitude, opinion about everybody. I lose the universal course of this world. My husband irritates me to no end. People who are not vegetarians irritate me. I can't understand it. I can't understand how people kill people. I can't understand how people are mean to people. I get so angry when people eat meat. I get so angry when my husband doesn't do and be exactly like I would love him to be. I do the same with politics. I cry. Somebody told me a story that when the trains were built over the United States, the Chinese built them. And at the end, they didn't want to pay them, so they just killed them. To me, it was like that musical years ago, Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. It's just, it's sometimes too much to bear. But I trace it back to myself. Not always, but right now I do. And it's not that I need to blame myself, but I need to understand my prejudices, my opinions, my rights, my wrongs, my judgments. That started way, way back when that boy came and I had to hide in the cellar. Why did I have to hide? Couldn't I have received love from him? He had always been nice and kind to me. When I look back even at the relationship that I had with my parents, and my father told me that I should never kiss a boy unless I was going to marry him. I mean, what was that all about? My parents or my father were so prejudiced against Jewish people. I never understood quite why, except that I think they wanted to bargain in Chicago for winter coats, because that's what they did, and that's what you do in India and so many parts of the world. And my father just hated it. He hated to bargain. He didn't know. He didn't think it was fair. He thought they were cheaters. And so I grew up with a stigma, don't like Jewish people. And I remember when I had a boyfriend at University of Illinois in the first year, I brought him home that first break. I didn't know he was Jewish. I didn't even know what Jewish people were. I mean, I didn't know if you could identify he's Jewish, he's not Jewish. And this young man was so nice. And my father was, he couldn't even talk because the boy was Jewish. I can remember that I was scared of black people because there was no people of color that lived in my city or my town, my little town outside of Chicago. And I in all truth, I couldn't tell people of color apart. They all looked the same because I wasn't used to the color of their skin. The same with the Chinese. I was never around Chinese people. And so I couldn't tell them apart either. They all just seemed the same. And I remember my parents could tell who was Polish And I thought they were amazing, like they were psychic or something. How could they tell someone was Polish? Not even by an accent. So I am sure all of you have grown up with incredible prejudices against and opinions of and judgments of, because that's a conditioning that we've been given in this world today. I was very competitive, especially with women, in sports, in getting the right boyfriend as I grew up, of how I looked in comparison to someone else. And still to this day, I have to watch so carefully in my mind that that does not come as part of my thinking. What I'm saying today is this. The world is separated. The world is separated from all of our prejudices about each other, our nationalities, our religions, and countries have been so, they've done such a good job of separating us and making us think that we're the best, or maybe for some countries the worst. I remember growing up in high school and we had to read this book, and it was from ancient history when I was a sophomore in my little town. It was called Red Stars Over Cuba. And it was during the Castro era when Cuba became communist. My teacher, who was a foreign accent, but I don't remember what country, he said this in ancient history, which was this modern situation in Cuba at the time, that if he could, he would go to every door in America, and if people were communists, he would shoot them. I mean, can you even believe that in a public school in America? So I learned that we should hate communists. We were also taught to really hate Russians, that they were really, really our enemies. And then when the Iron Curtain went down, we found these poor folks just digging to get potatoes. And what about China? We banned buying things from China, telling us that they had sweat lodges for young children. And at the same time, in the south of the United States, in Texas, we were bringing children across the border and doing the very same thing. And it goes on and on and on. Liking particular, not liking, having opinions. And I thought I was so righteous in some things like being a vegetarian or even doing yoga, meditating, those people that don't, that they're separate from me. People that birth in a certain way, they're my heroes. People that use all kinds of drugs and choose a C-section, I had an opinion and judgment about. And it goes on and on and on. When I finally sit down and have a long meditation, and I can get to that point of consciousness where everything becomes one, I really just start crying because I see how far out my mind has taken me. And it's that road to misery, and it's that road to separation. It's the road to judgment. And I really feel that that's where the world is now. Separating, separating, separating. However, what we have to smile and laugh about, that this is part of the divine plan. I always go back to Vivekananda. I discovered him when I was going north to our orphanage on the Tibetan-Chinese border. I was in an old, dirty Indian town in Assam, and I'm taking a little walk before we have to go hours in the treacherous ride up into the Himalayas. And I looked inside this building. It looked like maybe a temple. It wasn't decorative, it wasn't fancy, but it looked like potentially a holy place. And the door was open, so I went in. No one was there. Few people drifted in and out. And I saw a picture of a big man. He wasn't a tall man, but he was a stout, fully bodied man in a rather decorative outfit with a kind of a hilarious turban, actually. And I walked up, and I said, "Who is this man?" And I saw the word at the bottom, Vivekananda. And I love that sound. It was so melodic. Vivekananda. And I didn't have anyone to ask, who is this man? So as soon as I got back to Rishikesh, I went into the bookstore and I said, "This man, they said, Vivekananda?" I said, "Yes." He took me over. He's a very tall, thin, well-spoken English man, but he's Hindu. There I go. How many different opinions did I have about him? Descriptions. Lovely fellow, good smile, human being. He took me over to the section of Vivekananda, and they were real little books, and they only cost 75 rupees, which is a little more than $1. So I picked out a bunch of them, and the one that caught my eye is what is seva, meaning selfless service. So I started leafing through it, and before I knew, I started reading every page from cover to cover. I read this book, and the one capture, you know how you get a capture in a book? That one thing that, oh my God, that's why God had me read that book. This is what he said about planet Earth. He was a holy man. He was the first one that came to America. I think it was 1889. He came over on a steamer boat, and he came for, I think, the International Religious Council in Chicago. He said, "This is the way the earth is. Everybody comes back on this earth, planet Earth, all reincarnate in whatever station or level of consciousness they are in. And we've all gone every level, every station. Some of us have come and did ill acts, and they were upon us, and we did them." And it went on and on and on and on. But perhaps the people reading the book had evolved enough to even wanting to pick this book up. So I thought I must be one of them. He said that we'll come back over and over and over again until we reach that level of consciousness. Some call it enlightenment, some call it shunya. And when everybody in this world reaches that point of whole evolution, of enlightenment, of shunya, of Buddha nature, then the earth will dissolve. It will be no longer needed. When I read that, everything in that moment flash made sense. But I could not live it yet. I could not see everything as perfect, because no one talks about that. The media, the news, every single thing talks about what's wrong, what's not right, what's a disaster from the earth to the human being. When I disconnect with everything is perfect, I go there so quickly. Do you? If every time I get up for sadhana in the morning, and it doesn't always work, I can bring myself back to that point of everything is perfect, everything is exactly as is planned, then I have peace in my heart. I understand then, with full appreciation and thankfulness from my heart, why my parents acted and told me, and my school teachers and the government today, and everything that's going on is part of a big play. Does it mean I don't do anything? I don't help? No, I do as much as I can do. But judgment departs me from what is my purpose, I believe. Opinions depart me from the truth that all is perfect. And if I can just bring myself back to teaching, to loving, to hugging, and seeing people for exactly the station they are in right now. And if they ask me or want, I'm there. But not to tell or opinionate or point a finger at. Today I went to a yoga class. Her name is Bridget. She teaches at Tri Yoga in London. She is a divine soul, I have to tell you. She's older. She's taught for 50 years. And whenever I can, I get to her hatha classes. When she saw me and I was getting my mat out, I was a little late. She came over me. She didn't give me a pat. She gave me a hug. And she said, "I'm so glad you're here."
I believe
my heart melted. I didn't know that. I knew she knew who I was because I'd met her. But just that unconditional love without opinions and judgments.
to enjoy our lives as much as we can.
That's
To hug
what I want to be. That's what I want to
and to
do.
live in the light.
I just want to be there
Blessed day,
for everyone
blessed day of Valentine's
as much as they will
May
want
every
me to be
day
there.
be a day.
And if they don't
from
want
my
me to
heart
be there,
yours.
that's fine.
Sat Nam.
I don't think I can go hug everybody at the airport, everybody in line at McDonald's at the airport. I don't think that will work. They'll probably say, "There's a crazy lady." But I do know I can pray for everyone. And when I pray, there's no judgment. When I pray, it's a full acceptance. It's a funny world we live in. Some say that the world is more evolved than it's ever been. That there's more people that are awakening to their souls. I believe that.